All right, let's talk about something that's both fascinating and, honestly, a little uncomfortable. The very real and very unfair advantage of being beautiful.
I mean, you've seen it, right? You've noticed how some people, the really attractive ones, just seem to skate through life. They get away with almost anything, and we just kind of let them.
And look, this goes way beyond just being charming. There's a really powerful psychological bias happening under the surface, a kind of mental shortcut that gives attractive people this huge invisible head start in life.
There's actually a name for it. It's called the halo effect. Basically, it's this glitch in our brain where if we see a pretty face, we just automatically assume that person is also smarter, kinder, and more trustworthy, all without a single shred of proof. Our brain just fills in the blanks with good stuff.
And trust me, this bias runs deep. We're not talking about, getting a free coffee here and there. We're talking about hard evidence of how a person's looks can completely skew our judgment in some of the most important moments of life. I mean, the real-world impact is insane. Study after study confirms it. People we think are attractive are way more likely to get hired, they earn more money, they can get treated more leniently in court, and they're just flat out more persuasive. So let's talk about that money part. Researchers actually call it the beauty premium. On average, it's a pay bump of around 3 to 4%. But get this, some studies have found the gap between the most and least attractive people can be as high as 12%. That is real money just for having a certain kind of face. And this right here? This shows exactly how that bias plays out in hiring. Imagine two candidates walk in. Their resumes are identical. Same skills, same experience. The only difference is that one of them fits that conventional idea of beauty. Who do you think gets the job? Time and time again, the research shows it's the attractive one.
And we see this play out constantly online, don't we? Some good-looking influencer messes up, says something ridiculous, and the comments are just flooded with excuses. Oh, they didn't mean it that way. Give them a break. They're just young. That's the halo effect in action, creating this giant cushion that protects them from any real consequences.
But here's where the story takes a really dark twist. Because getting that kind of positive feedback all the time, well, it can actually warp the minds of the people who benefit from it, creating this serious psychological downside that we almost never talk about. Just think about it for a second. What happens when you're never really held accountable? When everything you do is praised or excused? It completely erodes your connection to reality. It creates this bubble where your actions don't seem to have the same consequences as everyone else's. There's this classic experiment that shows exactly how this works. In what's called the Snyder telephone paradigm, men were told they were talking to an attractive woman on the phone. Because of that belief, they acted warmer and more engaging. And what happened? The women on the other end responded more positively, basically confirming the men's initial expectation. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that little loop can kick off this really dangerous cycle. First, you get constant positive feedback. That leads to a lack of consequences when you mess up. Over time, that can build a serious sense of entitlement, until eventually you start to see rules as, just suggestions, things that apply to other people but not you. But it's not all a free ride. This is what some researchers call the beauty paradox. On one hand, you get all these external perks. You're given the benefit of the doubt, you get more opportunities. But on the other hand, there's this heavy internal strain. You face resentment, you're under constant scrutiny, and you have to deal with schadenfreude. That's when people secretly enjoy it when you fail. That constant push and pull can be incredibly damaging. Okay, so we've seen the power and we've seen the peril. But what does all of this mean for you? Well, the good news is you don't have to be a supermodel to make this psychological principle work for you. Let's talk about how you can tilt that halo in your favor without losing yourself in the process. And I want to be really, really clear about this. This is not about trying to conform to some impossible beauty standard. The halo effect is triggered by cues of care, of confidence, and of effort. And that is accessible to absolutely everyone. And the ways to do it are surprisingly simple. We're talking about things you can totally control, like neat grooming and taking care of your hair, wearing clothes that actually fit you well, it signals self-respect. Holding yourself with a strong, confident posture. And yeah, of course, basic hygiene. These small tweaks can dramatically shift how people see you right out of the gate. But this is probably the most crucial point of all. Use these tools to open doors for yourself, not to dodge accountability for your actions. Remember this quote: "Leeway without self-discipline is a trap." By all means, polish up your presentation, but always hold on to your character and your integrity. That's the core of who you are. So I'll leave you with this. Have you ever experienced beauty privilege? Maybe you've benefited from it, or maybe you've been on the other side of it. I'd love to hear your story, so share it down in the comments. And of course, if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into social psychology like this one, make sure you subscribe. Thanks so much for joining me.